People who went to a wedding where the couple didn't last long, what happened? They were both 35, successful lawyer and doctor, but had never spent the night at each other's house. After the marriage they couldn't agree who would move in with who, and filed for divorce after 3 months. No one knows why they even got married at all. I guess they felt like they were supposed to at that age. The bride and groom got married, and within 3 months, the bride found out the groom was married and had kids in a different country. Both my brother and sister had short marriages. Sister husband turned up to the wedding high on crack. She fell in love with someone else. Brother had a destination wedding on the top of a mountain that took half a day for the guests to hike, including my dad, who was missing a kneecap. They wound up with an open marriage, but the wife ran off with the other guy and their cat. Actually, I performed a wedding at a local bar. We left about 10 p.m. The newlyweds got drunk, started fighting, and were arrested, spending the night in jail. During the reception, the bride's niece accidentally knocked over a drink that splashed the bride's shoes, and she backhanded her in front of everyone. It caused a huge fight, and the groom walked out right then. I didn't actually attend the wedding. During lockdown, when we were working from home, this one colleague was always reluctant to have work-related one-to-one calls with male colleagues such as myself. Eventually, I found out that her fiancé would moan and get jealous that she was talking to other men on Teams, even if it was 100% professional and work-related. Even then, I thought whoa, but figured it wasn't my place to say anything. They got married about 2 years ago. About 9 months ago, he asked for a divorce by text as he, Mr. Jealous, had found someone else. Went to a wedding that the bride's parents spent $30,000 for. 1 month later, the husband got a better job in a city 90 minutes away. The wife didn't want to move that far from her parents. They were divorced less than 2 months of marriage. Saw some signs at the wedding like ignoring each other, making rude and snide remarks publicly, etc. They tried to fix their marriage by having a kid earlier than they planned, and that led to divorce. Both are married to different people now and have had more kids, by all accounts far more civil, even cordial with each other. My cousin female bride was dancing too much at the reception, so the groom hit her. My uncles gave him a ride to the hospital, which he needed very badly by the time he got there. It was annulled pretty quickly. The maid of honor sat down at our table, downed a shot, and said, "I give them 3 years." Edit: they made it 2 years and 8 months. 1. The groom fucked a bridesmaid at the reception, got caught behind the bar. Another, bride fucked the best man in the limo on the way to the reception because the groom rode with his parents in the second limo. The limo driver told the groom. My brother got married to a woman from Russia while in the army. The whole family thought she married him for a green card, but he was convinced it was love. They had their ceremony in a gazebo on a military base. It was a small gathering of family that traveled to it from out of state. His best friend since high school got ordained just so he could marry them. My brother was really excited. He wore a nice suit, and the bride, well, she showed up in a bright pink tracksuit. They divorced a year later. A week before the wedding, the bride walked in on the groom fucking the dog's stuffed toy. They went through with the very elaborate wedding, and I'm pretty sure it's because she wanted a wedding, not a marriage, in the first place. They annulled the marriage 2 weeks later. Her parents are still paying off the wedding debt, and that happened 5 years ago. My friend's mom got married to a trucker. Was a pretty nice guy, treated her well, took care of her financially. About a year in, his other 3 wives from other states group called her to inform her that he was also married to all of them as well. They all divorced him at the same time. Nothing was even finalized yet, and he was sitting at a bar drinking. A fight broke out between other people, and he got shoved off his bar stool. Hit his head pretty good, went home to sleep it off and never woke up. Groom went missing between ceremony and reception. Bride found him banging the best man in the toilets. She smashed a glass in his face. I'm not sure, but the thank you card from my gift arrived on the day I found out they were divorced. 2 weeks at most. My friend is a wedding photographer in Australia, and she had a couple where the groom was visibly recoiling from the bride in every photo. She couldn't get a photo of him looking comfortable or happy around his bride. No idea what was going on, but they didn't last long. I'll start. The bride and groom got married at 20 and the bride's dad asked her to return his credit card during his speech because she can't use daddy's money now that she's married. He then ran over and started cutting his own credit card while the DJ played Rich Girl. My very sweet and adorable cousin has epilepsy. We really liked her boyfriend turned fiancé and they seemed like a great match. We were all confused when she divorced him a year after their wedding. Turns out after they were officially married a switch flipped inside him and he became very emotionally abusive and manipulative. He would hold her epilepsy medication hostage in order for her to do whatever he asked. He was so psychologically abusive. As soon as she gathered enough courage to leave him, it's been amazing seeing her recovery to being her authentic, free self again after him. I live in a small town in Switzerland, so everybody knows everybody. A couple was to marry on Saturday. The guests came along and while they were greeted the bride excused herself. She left to suck of a former male friend of her one last time and got caught. We used to joke about her blowing up the wedding. This thing happened years ago, but the both are still living in our town separatively and I can't unhear the story when I see them. A few weeks later, the bride drove to her parents' house after work instead of her home and said she didn't want to be married anymore and asked them to fix it. Another one, bride left months later because groom's drug use had quickly spiraled out of control. Within a year their baby died, he went to prison, and she got hooked on meth. In contrast to some others here, this couple lasted long, a full 6 months. Until she confessed to cheating on him. Repeatedly. With several men, for several years, sometimes with multiple men at the same time. Dude was a mess for a year after that. The relationship between the bride's father and the groom was contentious from before the wedding. At it, one of the bride's cousins had a dress with a cleavage, and one of the groom's cousins, drunk off his ass, came to her and told her he wanted, at verbatim, to suck her boobs. One tells her date, who promptly punches the groom's cousin. This begins a full-on family versus family brawl, that culminates with the groom punching the bride's father, and this man taking his daughter away and keeping her away from her husband for 10 days. It got an old can't imagine why, zany face. I was going to be best man at a friend's wedding. We got together the evening before the wedding, and all seemed well. Then, at 7:30 the next morning, I got a phone call from my friend. He said that the wedding was called off, and he would call and explain later. He didn't. It was 2 weeks later, I finally got a hold of his dad, and he said that his son was away at boot camp, and wouldn't be coming back. I never heard from him or the bride again, so I don't really know what happened. It turned out he was HIV positive and had another wife. She got caught banging his underage cousin.